Beer here back in the Fantasy Bar with a special happy hour edition for Week 11. You want to fit Dalvin Cook in those lineups? We've got some of my favorite mid-range and value plays, nobody over 7K on DraftKings, including my favorite play of the week. Who is it? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Week 11 edition, Beers Daily Fantasy six-pack this season. Cruising right along, but good to be back here once again, providing 6 of my favorite plays across both FanDuel and DraftKings for Week 11. Before we get into the plays, guys, do me a favor. Take a second. Click that thumbs up button on YouTube. I greatly appreciate it. Really helps us out. As I always say, that's the tip jar here in the Fantasy Bar. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, get notified when these videos are coming out. So like I said in the open, we're going to do a little bit of a happy hour. What does that mean? If you're new around here, that means we're going to slash prices just like your favorite bar down the road and give you some of my favorite guys. Nobody over 7K on DraftKings, nobody over 8K on FanDuel, including the Beast of the Week. Try to make room for Dalvin Cook in those lineups for you guys. Now, before we get into Week 11, let's take a quick look back at Week 10. Obviously, disappointing performance from Michael Thomas. Expecting more. That price got me on DraftKings, and that windy game in Cleveland was no help to Austin Hooper. Just a bunch of guys that did not help you win tournaments. So let's turn the page here, talk some Week 11. Let's start with wide receiver. We're going to go with AMARI Cooper of the Cowboys. So we talked Dalvin Cook, going to be obviously the highest owned player on this slate with good reason. The guy has been a stud. This is a great matchup. But what about the other side? Minnesota scoring a bunch of points. Dallas is going to have to do something here. And I love this spot for the passing game. They get Andy Dalton back. Nothing to be too excited about, but the point is, it's going to be better than the Ben DiNucci's of the world. Guys, they've been rolling out at quarterback, Garrett Gilbert. So Dalton back in there. This price on AMARI Cooper, very fair. In fact, cheapest price we've gotten on him on DraftKings this season in quite some time. Actually, looking back, it's been a while since we've got 5,400 AMARI Cooper. And with Dallas playing from behind, like we said, they're going to have to throw the ball. 7-point road dogs here in Minnesota. And the Vikings have struggled with the wide receiver position. 4th most fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. I know they have a plethora of options there in Dallas, but AMARI Cooper, the top dog and the guy I want here in Week 11 against the Vikings. All right, let's go to the running back position. A guy I never thought would be in the six-pack, but here we are in 2020. We're rolling KALEN BALLAGE of the Chargers. Now, I've had some disparaging things to say about KALEN BALLAGE over the years, but it's really hard to argue with what we've seen over the past 2 weeks. And I know, short sample, small sample police, come on after me. 20 touches per week here over the last 2 games for KALEN BALLAGE. Coach comes out and says, we want to get this guy even more involved. Find ways to get him the ball. He's getting the ball through the air, on the ground. The Chargers, big home favorites here. 2nd highest projected total on this slate this week against the Jets. And the Jets, we know, worse against the pass, no doubt. You're going to see a lot of Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, all those guys projected to have a lot of ownership. And BALLAGE will certainly have some as well. But the Jets, not very good against running backs either. Bottom 10 in fantasy points allowed here. Got to put our biases aside here. He's away from Adam Gase. Maybe that's the key to free him here. KALEN BALLAGE in a great spot and tremendous prices is a big home favorite here against the New York Jets. All right, let's go to tight end. It's been a dumpster fire every single week this season. We have no stud Kelsey's, Kittles on this slate. Let's save some money with Logan Thomas of Washington. So matchup is what this one's all about. Cincinnati has really struggled with the tight end position. In fact, 2nd most fantasy points allowed to tight ends this season. We know Washington dealing with a very thin target tree. We know McLaurin will get some targets. J.D. McKissic going to get about 28 targets per week, but that still leaves some targets for Logan Thomas. And in fact, the Bengals, we know, bad against the tight end, and of course, bad against the pass as well. 29th in DVOA against the pass this season. I think we could get a sneaky shootout in this game, but let's save some money here. Logan Thomas cheap, going to give us some targets, and I think he finds the end zone here against this terrible Cincinnati defense. All right, moving on. Pick number 4. Let's go to the quarterback position and roll with Big Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers. So Ben been a model of consistency this season. Multiple touchdown passes in 8 of the 9 games this season. This matchup about as good as it gets here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have established they really want to throw the ball. We saw it last week in that windy game. They were still throwing the ball around. Even when leading big, it was pass first here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I don't mind going to James Conner. I think he'll be a lower owned option at the running back position, but Big Ben's the guy I really want here. Jacksonville, bottom 3 in almost anything we want to look at against the pass. DVOA, fantasy points allowed. We could go on and on and on here with how bad this Jacksonville defense has been. And the Steelers' highest projected team total on this week's slate. And we know that correlates very well with quarterback success, but Steelers projected for 4+ touchdowns. I got to think Ben's involved in at least 2 of those, hopefully 3 or more. But I love the spot for Big Ben against Jacksonville. All right, moving along. Let's stay right there with Pittsburgh. We like Big Ben. The question is always, what Steelers receiver do we target here? I think he can go with any of them, but we're going to target the cheapest of the 3, and that's DIONTAE Johnson. So this guy just continues to get targets, and they all do. You look across the board, they get double-digit targets for all 3 of these guys. So this is definitely a spot where you can target any of them, but give me the cheaper. Like I said, DIONTAE Johnson, the cheapest of the 3 on DraftKings. FanDuel, he's tied with Claypool. The point is, when this guy's been in the lineup, he has put up numbers. He gets target. Now it says 10+ targets in 5 of his 8 games. It's really about 5 in 6.5 games. Some of those games he was injured. So when he's healthy and he's out there, to me, he's the alpha of this receiving group. As good as Juju's been lately, as big a games as we've seen from Chase Claypool, I think DIONTAE Johnson, the best receiver. Now, I don't want to disparage those guys. In fact, I think this is a great spot to double stack. I didn't want to pile up a bunch of Steelers here in the 6-pack. We already mentioned Connor as a nice pivot at the running back position, Ben and DIONTAE, but I also love Juju and Claypool here. Are going to have a ton of double stacks, but if I have to pick one, the guy I think that outperforms the other, it's DIONTAE Johnson this week here against Jacksonville. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for week 11, but before we do that, guys, we're going to continue to say thank you. The great audience here at the Fantasy Bar. We're going to continue our Beast of the Week contest, absolutely free to play. All you got to do, get in the comment section, make sure you click that thumbs up button. All you got to do is guess fantasy points for my Beast of the Week on DraftKings. Closest guess is going to win themselves either a free week of RotoGrinders Premium, includes everything we have, including Lineup HQ, building a ton of lineups or one lineup in a matter of moments, and everything else behind the curtain. So if you're not a premium subscriber, you get a chance to check it all out. Or if you already are, and thank you for that, we'll send you a free RotoGrinders t-shirt. So without further ado, let's wrap up week 11. My favorite play, you know, Matt's the Beast of the Week. All right, Beast time. We're going to continue the happy hour trend here. We're going to keep those prices down. We're going to go back to the running back position. We're rolling Mike Davis of the Panthers, this week's Beast of the Week. Now, I absolutely love this spot for Mike Davis. This was the first guy I wanted to plug in the lineups for a variety of reasons, and we'll get into some of them here, but mainly the recency bias here. We haven't really seen a massive game out of Mike Davis. Now, we know the last few weeks, Christian McCaffrey been back in the lineup, been tough for him to put up numbers here. The price also is down at $4K last week, up to $6,800. I think that's actually going to scare some people away. Now, I know we were paying more for him earlier in the season when he was the guy, but sometimes it's a mental game, and early ownership projections are nowhere near what I thought they would be here on Mike Davis. So let's take advantage here, mainly because of the matchup. Detroit has been absolutely terrible against the run. In fact, nobody been worse. My Packers been pretty bad, but the Detroit Lions allow the most fantasy points to the running back position over the season, over the last 4 weeks. Any metric you want to look at, this is not a good run D. Davis and the Panthers favored here at home. I don't care who the quarterback is. Looks like it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater. I don't care if it's a backup here. This is a great spot. We're saving a ton of money on what you would pay on Christian McCaffrey. Mike Davis, easily my favorite play on the slate in this week's Beast of the Week. All right, guys, that wraps up here for week 11 in the Fantasy Bar. As always, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, hit that comment section right below the video. Don't forget, fantasy points for Mike Davis on DraftKings for your shot at some free RG Premium. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We thank you for that. Subscribe to the channel. You can also head over to Twitter and follow me at Beermakersfan. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut. Best of luck, guys. Thank you, as always, for watching, for stopping in, hanging out at the Fantasy Bar. An early happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Good luck this week, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist